So Zach Reimer of Bleacher Report has come up with some more trade proposals. People always love to give their opinions on these, and you know me, I got to give my opinion as well. Realistic trades that could happen before 2025 spring training. Let's get into it. Up first, he says the Red Sox get it over with and trade for Nolan Arenado. The proposal is the Red Sox get Arenado, the Cardinals get designated hitter Masataka Yoshida, and their number 6 prospect, Yoeilin Cespedes. Now, the first question you might be asking is, why would the Red Sox want Nolan Arenado? They already have a third baseman in Rafael Devers. Well, the problem with Rafi, while yes, the bat is amazing, the defense is no bueno. Statistically, he is the worst defensive third baseman going back over the last 3 years. They could definitely use an upgrade at third base, and Arenado is one of the best defenders at third base of all time. Now, the idea here is that you would put Arenado at third base, and Rafael Devers would slide over to designated hitter because Yoshida would be going back to the Cardinals. Now, if I'm looking at this trade from both sides, yes, it is pretty close to even when you're looking at the values. The Red Sox would be taking on the whole contract of Arenado, while Yoshida's entire contract would be going back to the Cardinals. But the problem is I don't see the Cardinals accepting this. I think they would say no here. I can see the Red Sox saying yes to this. Yeah, hey, we'll take on the whole contract of Arenado, but you got to take all of Yoshida. But the point of trading Arenado for the Cardinals this offseason is so they can clear payroll. Now, Arenado, he's owed right around $74 million in cash over the next 3 years. So the Cardinals, they're trying to get rid of that off of their payroll, and taking in Yoshida, that's right around $55 million. So really, sure, they're saving around $20 million over the next 3 years, but is that the kind of savings that they're looking for in this scenario? I don't think so. Maybe pay a little bit of it. It was reported that they would be willing to pay $5 million per season to the Astros over the next 3 years until Arenado shot that deal down. So they are looking to save a lot more money than right around $20 million. Sure, for the Cardinals, they would be getting a pretty decent prospect here in Yoeilin Cespedes. This guy has a lot of upside with the bat. He was having a good season this year until he broke a bone in his hand. But either way, I just don't see the Cardinals wanting to do this. I could see the Red Sox, but not the Cardinals. Also, I want to throw this in there. While I do think there could be legit interest in trading for Arenado, a part of me wonders if the Red Sox could be using these talks to try and lower the price on Alex Bregman, since it doesn't seem like other teams out there are willing to go the extra mile for him, and his swing fits Fenway Park very well. Now, he does have another idea. Let's get to that. Now, for the next one, he says, alternatively, the Red Sox make a Tristan Casas trade. The proposal is the Red Sox get right-hander Jared Jones, the Pirates get first baseman Tristan Casas, and middle infielder David Hamilton. Now, when it comes to this proposal, this would clear up first base for the Red Sox. Now, up above, he mentioned Yoshida would go back to the Cardinals, so Rafi, he could move over to the DH spot, but in this scenario, you could open up first base for Rafael Devers. Now, there's a lot of people out there that think the idea of moving Rafi to first base would be terrible. I actually think it would end up being okay. There have been a lot of third basemen over the years that have moved over to first base and ended up having a lot of success. Look at Albert Pujols. He came up as a third baseman. He moved over to first base for the majority of his career. Even in Red Sox history, you had Kevin Youkilis, who came up as a third baseman. Rafi would have to learn, the ins and outs of first base, but, the range is not very good with him at third. I think that would work a lot better for him at first base. Still has a pretty good arm. That could work well when it comes to throws in the infield, cutoffs and whatnot. There could be some growing pains there, but I think in the long run, he could end up being a pretty decent first baseman. Now, trading Tristan Casas, this would be a tough pill to swallow for the Red Sox. When it comes to Casas, man, there's a lot of upside there. He did miss a lot of time this past year with a rib injury, but he still put up really solid numbers during that time. Had a 119 WRC plus, a 462 on the slugging, 13 home runs. Now, go back to his rookie season in 2023, 23 years old, 132 games, a 263, a 367 on base, a 490 on the slugging, a 130 WRC plus, 24 homers. He's still very young, only just about to turn 25 years old. There could be a lot of upside here. Losing Casas would definitely hurt for the Red Sox, but in this scenario, you would be getting quite the pitcher back in Jared Jones. I'm a big Jared Jones guy. This guy also has a lot of upside here. 22 starts this past past year. He also missed a little bit of time with a lat injury, but this guy had electric stuff. Pretty decent numbers for the most part, ERA and the FIP in the fours, but had a good strikeout to walk ratio. He got bit by the home run ball a little bit this year. The stuff is great. The velo is great. I think Jared Jones is going to end up being very special here. Now, when it comes to the trade itself, I don't think this ends up happening. Now, when it comes to the Red Sox, Tristan Casas has been in the rumor mill quite a bit. Even go back over the last couple of years, his name has popped up in trade rumors, but this offseason, the smoke seems thicker than ever. I would not be surprised if Casas ends up getting moved here. Now, for the Pirates, this would be a great addition for them. I feel like they need something else in this lineup. This offense was not good this past year, and all they've done to it is add Spencer Horwitz. I think he could be a pretty decent addition here, a guy that gets on base, but I feel like they need another bopper in this lineup. Now, listen, I loved Andrew McCutchen, growing up through the years, but, at this point, he's your cleanup hitter. I don't know about that. I feel like you do need something else in this lineup. Now, I think Casas would be a great addition. I don't see the Pirates doing this, though. I think for the Pirates, if they want to give up Jared Jones, who did pop up in trade rumors this past offseason, the Red Sox reportedly made a phone call. I think they're going to have to get blown away, especially with how expensive pitching is. They should absolutely sell as high as possible. They should get a major overpay for Jared Jones. Even looking at another guy here like David Hamilton, I really like David Hamilton. He showed a lot of good things this past year, but I don't see why the Pirates would want him. You already got Nick Gonzalez slated for second base. You got Tamar Johnson in the minor leagues behind him. He showed some pretty good things this past year. Sure, I like the idea of it. The values, they do match up, but just another example of, sure, you can plug stuff into the simulator on baseball trade values, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good trade. I just think in the end, the Pirates would not do this. I could see the Red Sox doing this. I wouldn't be surprised if when they called about Jared Jones that they did bring up Tristan Casas. So I don't see this deal happening. Moving on to the Red Sox arch rivals, the New York Yankees. He says here, the Yankees get Luis Arraez. After all, the proposal, the Yankees get second baseman Luis Arraez, the Padres get right-hander Marcus Stroman, right-handed pitching prospect Will Warren, and cash. So on baseball trade values, here's the deal. I put $6 million in cash, $3 million for each of the next 2 seasons, and the deal value-wise is perfectly even. Zach, are you using baseball trade values, you sly dog? But starting with Luis Arraez here, the Yankees have been connected with him in the rumor mill as of late. Now, when it comes to this trade, I could see the Yankees saying yes to it, but I don't see the Padres saying yes to it. I think they would say no. And the big reason is Marcus Stroman, even with cash. Now, when it comes to the Padres over the last couple of years, there have been some question marks. When it comes to the payroll, they've been looking to cut payroll over the last couple of years after spending big going back to a few years prior. And there has been some turmoil with the ownership situation in San Diego. For Luis Arraez, honestly, I don't really like the fit very much with the Yankees. You got Jazz Chisholm at second base with his speed, his range. I think he's a good fit at second. They did play him at third base this past year. You would put Luis Arraez at second and Jazz at third here, but I say let Jazz play second. I really could see at this point the Yankees just going internally with Oswaldo Cabrera, maybe giving Oswald Peraza a chance. Maybe they can go out there, sign a cheap option, maybe someone like Yohan Moncada. For the Yankees, Luis Arraez, he doesn't feel like a great fit for me personally. Alternatively, the Padres trade Dylan Cease to a different AL East team. The proposal, the Blue Jays get right-hander Dylan Cease, and the Padres get right-hander Yariel Rodriguez and left-handed pitching prospect Ricky Tiedemann. Now, I do like the idea of Cease for the Blue Jays. That would be a very good 1-2 punch at top of the rotation with Kevin Gausman. Berrios would be your 3. Francis and Bassett would round out the rotation. But when it comes to this trade, I don't know if it would be a good idea for the Blue Jays. For 2025, it would be a great idea. But, when you think of the Blue Jays right now, it feels like they're, in a little bit of limbo. What's going to happen here with Vlad Jr. moving forward? I know they're trying to keep him. They're trying to work out an extension. But if he goes to free agency and ends up going elsewhere, that's going to be a huge loss for their lineup here. And Dylan Cease, you're only going to have him for 1 year. He would be a rental. I fully expect Dylan Cease to go out in free agency next offseason. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball going back over the last 3 years. He's a Scott Boras client. This guy is going to get paid handsomely. So this really would be a rental. And considering, where the Blue Jays are at right now, they got question marks. Will they, want to give up Yariel Rodriguez, who they just brought in last year on a multi-year deal, and Ricky Tiedemann, one of their top pitching prospects? Yeah, I don't know. I could see moving Rodriguez, but, Ricky Tiedemann, this guy does have a lot of promise. I just think for the Blue Jays, sure, for 2025, I would really like this move, but for the future, it might be worth it to just hang on to your cost-controlled guys. Up next, he says the Orioles score Luis Castillo. The proposal, the Orioles get Castillo and the Mariners get first baseman Ryan Mountcastle. Now taking a look at the deal here on baseball trade values, once again, close to even. Zach, I think you're using BTV. I can smell it, my friend. Taking a look at it from the Orioles' point of view, I could see Mountcastle being expendable. If you moved him, you could move Ryan O'Hearn over the first base. You could move Tyler O'Neill to DH, which I actually think that would be probably better for him considering all the injuries he's had. And that could open up a spot for Heston Kjerstad. So I could see it from the Orioles' point of view, at least for what they're giving up. But when it comes to the pitching side of things, I mean, you got a lot of starting pitching now. Obviously, you got Eflin, G-Rod. You just brought in Charlie Morton. You brought in Tomoyuki Sagano as well. You also got Albert Suarez. You got some younger guys like Cade Povich that are waiting in the wings. You have a lot of starting pitching depth here in Baltimore. So will you be able to fit Castillo here? And when it comes to the Orioles, they haven't really been spending a ton of money. They have been making moves this offseason, but Castillo is owed a lot of money over the next 4 years. When it comes to the Mariners' point of view, yeah, I mean, they could definitely use someone like Ryan Mountcastle, a right-handed bat with a little bit of pop there. He could fit nicely at first base. Luke Raley, he could be a platoon at DH with Mitch Haniger. So I do see this trade, where it can work, but the main sticking point with me is, do the Orioles want to add someone like Castillo? I don't know. I just feel like they have a lot of starting pitching at this point. He would be a nice upgrade at the top of the rotation there, but who knows? Maybe they could work something out here. Moving on to the Braves, and he says here they finally make a splash on Pablo Lopez. So here's the proposal. The Braves get Lopez and catcher Christian Vasquez, and the Twins get catching prospect Drake Baldwin, along with right-handed pitching prospects Hurston Waldrop and J.R. Ritchie. Now, taking a look at the deal here on baseball trade values, as you can see, Christian Vasquez is a little underwater, so that will bring the overall package down just a smidge, but Pablo Lopez has a ton of value. He's on a pretty friendly contract, making an AAV just over $18 million per year, and he's been one of the most solid starting pitchers in baseball for a while now. Pablo Lopez would be a great addition for any rotation out there. And you might be asking, why would the Twins trade Pablo Lopez? Well, that's because it's been rumored the Twins could be looking to cut payroll this offseason. And for the Braves, they just lost Max Fried to the Yankees. I think he'd be a solid number 2 behind Chris Sale. You would have Reynaldo Lopez here. Spencer Schwellenbach was very solid this past year, along with Lopez. I guess you could say he had a breakout year this past year. And you got Spencer Strider coming back eventually. I think that would be a very good rotation. Looking at it as well with Christian Vasquez, sure, that would be a solid veteran catcher to get for the Braves. A team that is, looking to win a championship. I think Vasquez, with the championship pedigree that he does have, I think would be great for the Atlanta Braves moving forward. I think it'd be awesome for their pitching staff, but they would have to give up Drake Baldwin in this deal. But I think for the Braves, the fact that you have Sean Murphy signed up for the long haul, guess you could say Drake Baldwin could be expendable at this point. This guy has a lot of promise, could end up being a very solid catcher over the next few years. So I think that would be a solid get here for the Minnesota Twins. You got Ryan Jeffers as of right now, but he's going to be a free agent in a couple of years. And then you get a couple of pitching prospects as well, Hurston Waldrop, J.R. Ritchie. I think those would be 2 solid guys to get in return for Pablo Lopez. As you can see, they are a little behind when it comes to the overall value. Maybe you could throw in one more guy here. I do wonder, another thing here with the Braves, how far would they be willing to go? When it comes to their farm system ranking, back in August, the midseason rankings, they were ranked number 26 overall by Baseball America, so they need to start replenishing this farm system. Would the Braves want to do this at this point? Well, we'll see, but in the end, I really would like this for both sides. And last but not least, he has a move with the Mets. The Mets make Luis Robert Jr. their latest star. Here's the proposal. The Mets get center fielder Luis Robert, and the White Sox get infield prospect Ronnie Mauricio. Mauricio. Now, here is the deal. It is pretty even when it comes to the value, but I just don't see this one happening. Now, we all know the deal with Luis Robert. When this guy's healthy, this guy could be an absolute superstar, but this past year, he had a lot of issues. He had a hip flexor injury, only played 100 games overall, had an 84 WRC+. His numbers were all out of whack this past year. Go back to 2023. Sure, he put up some great numbers, 38 home runs, 20 stolen bases, a 128 WRC+, good defense out in center field. Yeah, Luis Robert can absolutely do damage when he's healthy, but that's the problem, is the health is holding him back, and that has definitely hurt his trade value overall. With Robert, I think the White Sox, there's a good chance they would want to hang on to him and take a chance to see if he can just stay on the field this coming year. If he can show that he's healthy in the first half, that would greatly boost his trade value. I do like Ronnie Mauricio here. I think he's a pretty solid prospect. There's a lot of power upside with him, and he has versatility, but he did miss all of this past year with an ACL tear. I think the White Sox, based off of how they've been, trading their guys, like Garrett Crochet, like Dylan Cease, they've wanted multiple guys in return. And for the Mets' point of view, at the major league level, their outfield right now seems pretty set, right? Obviously, you brought in Juan Soto. He's going to be out in right field. You got Brandon Nimmo at left field. They brought in Jose Siri this past offseason. So Luis Robert, is he going to be your DH? What do you do with Starling Marte at that point? I don't know. Just really the whole thing here doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. What did you think of these trades from Zach Reimer? Give me your thoughts. Show me your trade proposals in the comments. Tell me what you thought of my ideas as well. I know people are probably going to get grumpy at them. I know how it works. But everyone, that's all I got for this video. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 50K by opening day. We're getting so close. I can smell it, ladies and gentlemen. But everyone, that's all I got. I'll talk to you next time.